Hey Megan, I'm so sorry about that.
No, don't worry, it's totally fine. How are you getting on?
Um, it's so. I just got really vain and I had to move some boxes because you see I've moved house and
Yeah.
I had to. I didn't want them in the shot of me.
Oh, no, it's
So
totally fine. It's all good, really. There's no pressure. It's all good.
it's just my ego. I was just like, I want the little plant behind me.
Oh, it's so nice though. We all see the plant, we don't see the box, I swear.
The one box is okay, but there was a really ugly. I'll show you. There's that. So I just.
Oh, but that's what comes with moving, so you're all good, really. It's no worries, no
Yeah,
worries.
sorry, it's so dramatic starting a call like this. It's just, this is very me, where I'm like, I've still got my old like head on,
Mm,
which is like quickly have a shower, quickly move the stuff out of the way, start the call. But now I'm like this. It takes, like, I can't just do that. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for being like really good about this. Thank you.
Oh
Uh,
no, thank you for reaching out because I was meant to message you after Frida and I was like, yeah, I need to speak to Monique. I need to because I saw your page through Frida and I was like, oh, this is so good.
oh yeah.
So I have been meaning to message you, so I'm glad that you beat me to it.
Thank you so much. Like, you don't know what that means to me. Like, you
Hmm. Yeah.
probably do, but like it means a lot. It means a lot because this this project foremost has to be about helping other people, like and the only way that I can do that is by, like, I don't know, like the drawing is a therapy for me, and I've been doing it in, like, it's the toughest part of my life, all of our lives. And I've been drawing, keeping a visual diary for a long time for myself, and not really ever, like, I studied art, but like never had like people being like, "That's quite good," you know. So it
Oh.
means a lot because it's like I'm trying to be an activist, and then also the ego in me appreciates people reaching out and just saying that they see something from it. So
Oh, totally, 100%. Like I feel you. We'll just get straight into it and just welcome everyone to the chat. And it's so lovely to have you. And just especially, I mean, I don't know what the weather's like with you, but the weather here is pretty miserable. It's just pouring with rain and looking a bit dreary. But this chat is going to uplift some emotions, I hope, as well as just being real and telling it how it is. So I'm so excited to chat to you a little bit more about this project that you've got going on. Oh,
that's
the love.
a
So Monique, hello. How are you doing?
it's a pleasure to speak with you today. Thank you very much. So this feels great. Physically, I'm not well. I'm still ill from suspected infection of COVID that happened over 4+ months ago.
Mm, yeah, so it'll be fantastic to hear more about this project that you've just started due to this. So yeah, you can take it away.
Oh, thanks. There's a lot to say, so I'm sure we're going to go into more detail. But as a summary, um, I got ill with a friend of mine on March the 16th was the first day of the symptom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and summarize, the diary came about after a lot of therapy that from having different kinds of therapy over this time, which has been really integral to my um, recovery in terms of just taking every day, and getting through this. And off the back of that, one of the therapists I spoke to suggested that I draw my experiences. That actually came from bereavement therapy, and I found it. They don't call it work for nothing. It it brought up a lot of troubles, because I was painting watercolors flowers at the start, the first 6 weeks of the illness, because I couldn't handle anything that had a face or anything. I was just like botany, very therapeutic, and painting, I really loved it. Then I stopped painting when I had other kinds of pain happen and I couldn't sit down for long periods. And then the diary itself basically came about when I spent quite a few days, a couple of weeks ago, in bed for breathing problems. And I was just like, right, I'm going to buy an iPad, because my other friend who's ill has been doing iPad drawings. So I was like, right. And I had this idea, which I've still got, which is about going to be a partnership between creatives and key workers to amplify their voices. But when I was trying to draw the text, I couldn't do it on the iPad. And basically,
it's difficult.
I was like, oh, this is really hard. I've never done it before. And then I was like, my friend was like, just be loose. And so I was just drawing some things of my life. And then I was like, oh, I'll just post this will do. And then it just sort of came about from there.
Oh, that's brilliant. And the fact that you use art as well as a way of helping you get through this time, and especially for COVID, so many people don't even know like what to look out for, what it's like even afterwards. They just think, okay, yeah, it's going to be like the cold, you know, you're going to just go through a bit of a hard time, and then by the end of it, yeah, it's going to be fine. But that wasn't the case for you. So how have you found that a lot of people have been messaging you for more information about how you've been feeling? And yeah, just tell me more about that.
Yeah, it's a good question. People have been getting in touch. I think some people have shared the content on some Facebook forums. I began, one of the first things after being poorly, lol, in the first 2 weeks, I was desperate for any info for people who were ill or from people who were ill. And there was the odd like diary, and like the Evening Standard printed like my 14-day corona hell, and a colleague messaged that to me, and I was like, thank you. And then there was nothing, and I was just like, there must be something. It's a pandemic, there must be something for people who are ill. By definition, there are lots of people that are ill. And I just couldn't find anything, because it's like, you know, inject bleach in your arms, or like
a bit wild.
or how to avoid getting ill. And it was basically content from it. And this is the first thing of ableism that I had sort of come across. I came across the word ableism much before, but I have been very privileged in my life to have always been a very active person. I used to do kickboxing for about 3 years, Muay Thai, went to Thailand, did a camp, cycling 8 miles a day. They call me Action Jackson at the gym, because I was like, you know, spar with the lads. I love, you know, just getting in there. And it struck me down. My pedometer on the last day I was well was 25,000 steps. And the next week, the average was under 1,000.
Gosh.
And I'm going to draw that actually. So I wanted to make stuff for ill people to see primarily, as well as educating other people about visibility of what it can be like, because there's so many different truths out there.
Yeah, for sure. There's just, yeah, exactly as you say, the only information that I've seen is about, yeah, how to protect yourself, and also just basically not to go outside, basically, if you have it. But there's nothing really much more about how it actually affects you. And I mean, in your case, unfortunately, it seems like, yeah, you've just been pretty hard hit by what's happened. Yeah, I wish I knew what to say, but it's just hard. Like I imagine what you're going through, especially as you say, being so physical before, being so active, and now being so limited. How did you feel when you first found out that you had COVID?
The first was denial. I think the first day I was ill, I was having a well day, because I didn't recognize it. You don't, like, it presents in different ways, and how it presented to me was tightness in the chest, because I did a boxing session in my garden in the morning. I thought it was just like a kind of wheeze from being outside in the cold, because it was March back then. And then in the evening I was like, oof, something's not right. But kind of like, not even food poisoning. It didn't even feel like food poisoning. Like it was gentle. That's the kind of disturbing thing about it. It's so gentle. Like how it just came to me, and then it was just, then it like ranks up, like and so it just kind of bled, the illness just sort of bled into me. Like, that's the only way I can describe it. And it slowly like started to dismantle things in the way I get up. But going back to your original point before you asked the question, like, you're right, it is difficult. And I think I commend you for being up for having a difficult conversation right now with someone like me. And there are many like me. But it is really awkward and difficult. And that's why I personally withdrew. Obviously, we're all told to self-isolate if we are unwell. But there's also, I think, naturally as a human, you withdraw when you're sick. And then you're hoping that, you know, this will all be over 2 weeks. And I remember 2 weeks and thinking, God, what if I'm ill for a month? That would suck.
Yeah.
Little did I know.
I think that's the thing as well. It affects everyone in such different ways, because I think mostly what I've seen is that, yeah, you get it. And like I said before, like, it's like a cold. So, you know, it's going to be hard the first few weeks or so, but then afterwards you're totally fine. And that seems to be what's highlighted the most. Whereas people in your case, isn't really highlighted at all about like the actual impact that it can have for people. So it doesn't matter how old you are or, you know, what race you are, you still can be affected in these ways that you have also experienced.
Yeah, and that's something that I want to say now is, like, the first thing I want to say is, you can't see pain. You can't see pain. You can't see disability. You can see my eye right now. That you can see that, but that's the only thing you can see on me. You think, that's all right. She's smiling. It's because I was brought up to be a strong woman, as probably you were. And you're brought up to be strong. You're brought up like there. I've been crying. Like for the first 6 weeks, I was like just crying, like because my sleep got affected, and I was basically insomniac because various symptoms, you know. And I'm breathing. I'm talking to you now. Okay, now I did the hoovering 3 weeks ago. I did the hoovering, and I was breathing like that for about a week and a half. Obviously, doctors don't know. They don't know what it is. I took paracetamol. It seemed to help. They don't know why. But people in non-ICU, i.e. intensive care, people like me, I'm 31, had breathing problems in the second week, rock up to A&E because you're brought up being like, call 111, say, all right, if it continues, call 999, wait 3 hours for 999 turning up when you're like, and they took my numbers. You're fine. Oxygen 100, blood's 100, ECG 100, you're fine. You're having a panic attack. Right, I'm having a panic attack. Okay. They're like, what? You're probably having a panic attack to the breathing differences. Don't worry, it will pass. And this was like, bearing in mind, I'd done 12 rounds of boxing, so I know what cardio is. Do you know what I mean? I know what cardio is. I run, like, I know what it's like to be breathless when you're. But this is a different thing. This is a different beast. You know what? And I turn up to that happened again. I went to A&E for them to check me out like even more extensively, and again my numbers were all fine, thank goodness, but then it's like, go home. And then I got told, you know, by a doctor, and nothing but respect for all frontline NHS workers, nothing but respect to them, but obviously it is a lottery draw in terms of who you speak to, because they're being overworked right now. And they said to me, we've only got oxygen for you here. and your oxygen's fine, so you've got to go home. So that's quite quickly on, like, you know, kind of, and I asked, can I have my test, please? Can I be tested? No, we're not testing the public. That was the answer. We're not testing the public. That I was told that not once, twice, 3 times. That was March, April. Testing. So there are people like me who will, and I had my antibodies test results. Guess what? It was negative. And so I've had different feedback from that. I've had private doctors telling me you haven't had COVID, and then I've been like, oh, okay. They're like, there's other things going around. Okay, so I don't have COVID. Then I come back with more symptoms, like the right side of my face felt like it dropped in the night. I had to be checked for, you know, and then they're like, some people with COVID are describing these things. So it's like, no one knows. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've been told that a lot of people are getting negatives for antibodies.
Yeah, I've seen this as well from research, that it doesn't, yeah, you might get the test, but it doesn't actually mean it might read correctly. I think they said 20% read negative, but you're actually positive. It's just,
they just don't, there's, I think, yeah, there's a lot. I had one doctor say to me, because I don't know the answers. I'm the first person to say I don't know the answers. But a doctor said to me, we just don't know. Like, we just don't know. It's early with the testing. So I was like, okay, like, you know, like, I've never wanted to be ill at all. Like, you know, I work for a very, you know, a leading commercial art gallery. Like, I'm a manager there. There's no reason for me to, I want to work right now and to, or at least, you know, just, but unfortunately, like, this is reality, this is the situation. So I know with like Belly Majinga, who I just did a upload of, who's the TFL worker who was fat in the face. There was an inquiry, and I know that, like, there was question because the person who did it, like, tested negative for antibodies, maybe they didn't have the virus. And it's kind of like, that's something that is kind of coming to my attention as well, is about this antibodies being a confirmation of being ill, and proving you're ill to people has been my experience. I've had people like say to me angrily to me that I haven't had COVID and that I need to get over it. I've had people argue with me about this, like multiple people.
Crazy. Like, it's so bizarre that anyone would even challenge even like how you're feeling, that you can't deny how you feel. And
that's why I have to, it's not just about me. That's why I'm encouraging all ill people to come forward and do their own diaries. Speak up. The problem is by definition of being ill, it's the last thing you want to do is be putting yourself more vulnerable when you're already feeling at your weakest, and you haven't got any dignity. You know, you've got as much dignity as you can in a backless gown. Do you know what I mean? But people need to listen to the ill, because if no one knows about it, the ill know what's happening in their bodies, so you need to listen to them. Do you know what I'm saying? So sorry for the waffle, but it's important for the activism that point comes across, if you know what I mean.
100%. Yeah, I stand by you, girl. Like 100%. Everything you're saying, like we need to hear, we need to understand, and we can only understand properly when we hear from people like yourself who have gone through what this awful virus is. And yeah, that you're so, thank you, and a massive well done for still standing despite this thing hammering at you. You're fantastic, and it's inspiring to see, really. It really is.
Thank you. I have to use my privilege. In this. Like, it's my privilege is that there are things that are available to me, that I had the money to get an Uber to the hospital. I've had the money to do that. I've had friends in my area drop food off to me when no online shopping was available, and all thermometers were sold out in shops. I've had my privilege of being able to buy an iPad and do this comic in the first place. And and have a network of people, because I was already on Instagram, who would come and support me, and also for me be educated enough to reach out to people who are articulate like yourselves and have platforms. There are so many people who aren't able to do that. Like my friend who's ill with it, she has to work and she's too scared to go on sick leave because she fears she's going to be made redundant, and her, like, she's as ill as me. Do you know what I mean? So I have to, for the people who can't, I have to, like, it's very careful, but like it's a difficult tightrope to walk, because this is very like there are things that I say that a lot of people have contested and will contest, you know what I mean? So I can only talk for myself, but I try and like think about other people when I post things. But I know it's just about me. Like I can't say that my experience, and also what I'm careful of is because people with COVID are looking at it, it's very difficult because I have to tell my truth, but I know how triggering it is for someone with this disease to be looking online. I get triggered every day by stuff you see people referring it to. I'm not even going to say what I've seen it being referred to as, but you know, like it's but my friend encouraged me to go back on Instagram because she was like, you know what, you will get something from other people, Mon, like it will help your mental health going back on there. And I'm so glad I did, because you know, people can heal, do you know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure. I think, yeah, social media can be that thing of positive but also super negative and damaging, but I think the way that you're using it is going to help so many people. And again, exactly what you're saying about understanding what it is, understanding what can happen afterwards is crucial. Like we need to hear that stuff. So that's why I'm saying, like, thank you for having the strength to do this and to keep like doing what you're doing, because it's fantastic. It really is. I was actually going to ask about that. Like, I love your style and the colors that you use as well, because they are so bright and they are so cheerful. Like when you see it, you're like, oh, that's fun. But then obviously there's a much deeper meaning behind it. So it's interesting that you tie both of that together, the like seriousness behind why you're doing what you're doing, but also having that fun element to it, despite it being such a difficult situation to talk about.
Oh, I'm glad you picked up on that. Like, yeah, I've got this yellow jacket. It's in one of my drawings, like, and I always joke with a friend of mine, like, that I can, if I wear like pastel or bright colours, I can be as miserable as I want, because if I turn up to a party, like, I've brought the fun, and then I can just be myself
For themselves.
as well as I want. Pastel goth. So so I mean, yeah, like I to be honest with you, I think it's just I don't, like, I definitely, it's weird, I don't know, do you have this with your design work where it's kind of, there's an intuitive side to it where you're kind of just not really
like thinking about what you're doing, you just make it?
Yeah, do you have that at all?
I do, yeah. When I'm working with clients though, it's a little bit trickier to be able to have that freedom. But when I'm doing my own work, yeah, I don't even, to be honest, that's what I kind of wonder, like, am I actually good at graphic design? Because I seem to like break all the rules. Sometimes I don't use rulers, I just kind of use it with my eye and things like this. I just make it. I don't really think about the technicality of it. I just make something. So, and I have been told off in the past for not doing that. So I know that I need to, but I think for my own work, I'm quite happy to just, yeah, be an artist in a way of just doing what you please.
That's interesting. Yeah, like the rules. And yeah, that is interesting. I can imagine, especially like, because I never, like, I always felt like a failed artist because I did illustration, and yeah, like never having done the commercial design stuff. It just, I always, yeah, it was just always something where I felt like a complex about, because I've got so many friends who are like talented designers and stuff that
Yeah. It makes
yeah.
I think it's that imposter syndrome that honestly is a real thing. I was made redundant from my job a month ago now, and it was heartbreaking because I had this thing in my head of, oh, maybe it's because I'm actually not good. Like maybe they're just using the pandemic as a way of getting rid of me. But it's like, stop it, like actual stop it. Like it's just trying to get rid of that evil voice in your head basically, and just be true to yourself. Like if you enjoy what you're doing, then that's all that matters. And like if someone doesn't commission you, then okay, fine. If someone does commission you, then cool, okay. But it is a really tough industry to try and get into, and I think from my experience it helps a lot with who you know, and it is about networking and yeah, helping you get to where you need to be with the folk that you know.
Exactly, that you share values with, and
Exactly.
that's what to me this time really highlights, is obviously the pre-existing inequalities in that are going around. They have always been there, but you can see it really exacerbated, and unfortunately the virus don't care about if you're poor or rich, or if you're black or white, or like any variation of like religion. Like just in order for everyone to be safe, we all have to be safe, you know. You can't just have some people yeah. So I think, sorry, I went off on one there, like,
Oh no, it's all good. It happens all the time here, so I welcome it. I'm like, yeah, keep the tangents coming.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you're absolutely true though. You're absolutely right.
do you think 2020 is cancelled, by the way?
Oh, good question. Of course, in some ways, yeah, 100%. But I think, for example, in your case, this is actually something that, like, Corona Diaries wouldn't have come about if you hadn't gone through that, or even now still continuing to go through it. You're able to actually help people through this crazy time. So, of course, I would never wish upon anyone to feel how you feel. And even the flipping pandemic, I wouldn't want that to happen. But I think despite that, there's still some positives that you can see that have come about purely because of. What do you think? How do you feel?
I like what you say. You touched on some really good points. Yeah, I think like how life as we knew it, BC, before COVID, is like, is different. Like I think at the moment we're seeing this kind of like in between of wanting to go back to how it was, and time will tell about whether that will be achieved or not, or whether complete like the adaptation taking place in the economic model, in how everyone lives their lives, expectations, access to healthcare, safety, things like that, architecture, like there's going to be some big changes.
Window, hasn't it? Like it's just, even for example, you were talking about ableism earlier. I think COVID has opened a window to adapting how we work, and it shows that you can work from home, and there are some people that have these disabilities that unfortunately restrict them to not being able to move so much. So being able to work from home is such an advantage. Like it helps so many people, and
Yeah,
I
that's
hope,
really good.
yeah, I would really hope that more like big companies and businesses and things open their doors for more disabled people, because of the fact that, I mean, they should have been doing it already, but I think it has made them think. I think because life is kind of put on pause, it has made a lot of people think, and exactly what you're saying about the Scrooge idea, like look back at their life like, oh my gosh, like there are some things I need to sort out. Like it's just like, well, it's good that we have had this time now to really think about what we can do.
Yeah, I think you're right that the Black Lives Matter movement he was like represented this sort of visibility, inclusivity, sort of demand of civil liberties. There's been backlash, and there's also been a lot of difficult conversations that I had, important ones though.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I think along with the NHS have been radical. I think it always boils down to individuals, the collective of individuals who run, particularly in London, how they accommodated the crisis with emptying hospitals. It's a miracle. Like, people say how we, like, this country didn't have, there's a mishandling of what's to happen.
Yeah, for
People,
sure.
I think that's fair enough to say that people were saying that. My attitude is, I'm not going to argue with that. But I will also say that it needs to be commended, the front line, people on the front line, like the doctors, the nurses, the carers, who weren't following a script and worked together. And the people who've died, in one of my posts, I like listed from the BBC like 100, and there's obviously more than that, but as I was going through that list, I saw 28-year-olds, you know, young. There's no stereotype of what that NHS worker looked like or how old they were, or, you know, so that's a success. I think with PPE, I've noticed people tell me like about single use, you know, that's been because people have been buying more, like, you know, non-recyclable gloves and face masks. There will be, unfortunately, nothing's clean cut. Obviously, it's great. The more people thinking about, like, the general public, face coverings, and now thankfully in the shops we have to cover up, but that's great. But then if it's single use, ending up in rivers, we've got an environmental issue right there that needs to be addressed. Also, people need to dispose them in bins, you know, not just but it's difficult. It's so complex, you know, but keeping it in the conversation, to me, is number one. Just because it's difficult don't mean, like, to me it's like important that the conversation continues and there isn't this shaming culture of just, you've messed up, you've not done it right, you know, you've gone and visited your family and you could have given them X and Y, and how dare you, and you're, because you're in a top position. No, to me, I'd say, I've said to my friends who have been like that, you know, this politician did that, I'm like, you don't know what you would do. You don't know what you would do if you're in the situation. I don't care. The thing is, there needs to be leadership and accountability, no doubt. But I just mean as in, like, I think that people are afraid to talk because of saying the wrong thing, and because the guidelines are always changing. And also, this illness isn't known. There's just so many things that people just feel like, you know what, this is so depressing and overwhelming. Let's just look at cute animals on the internet, which I'm all for, by the way. But
yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, it's just keeping it going.
Yeah, it's just, I think, like, what's number one is there's a contagious disease out there, like, and it affects everyone. Like, I'm like, you know, it's still out there, everyone, and that's the thing that I'm just trying to make visible is just that it's not going anywhere. It's still there. Like, so, you know, I know that people want to go back to normal, but this is normal now. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you can't go back to life before the internet. Like, let's go back before the internet existed. Like, after the internet, everything changed. Dating changed, working changed. People can't go back before.
Yeah, it's I guess now it is adapting to this new normal.
Yeah, it's such a cringe term, isn't it?
No, it is. It really is. Hence why I love the rabbit ears, you know. Also, I love your hair. Kind of.
Oh, thanks. That basically, I shaved my head last year. I did a Britney. And I think it was like a breakup, and I'd gone to Thailand to do a little kickboxing camp, and like I came back with like very dreadlocked hair, so I shaved it off, and then like not cute dreadlocks or locks I should say, but like just homemade ones, and then
Oh.
I shaved it all off, and then because I was so active as well, like it was super easy. And then I started growing it back. I had a really cool, like I went to Clapton Blue Tit and had a really cool haircut just when I got ill, and it was shaved. So that's how long I've been ill. This was like, you could see my skin, like that was all shaved when I got ill.
Aye, yeah.
And now it's like I've got fro sideburns.
You still work it though, girl. You still work it.
Thank you.
It'd be cool to chat a little bit. I mean, we touched on it a little bit already, but about your actual illustrations. So how do you go
cool.
about thinking of what you're going to draw?
Oh, cool. This is so cool to have like questions. So how do I go about what I'm going to draw? Like the process of drawing, or like the idea, or both? Like
everything and anything.
Well, like I bought this iPad Pro. I still haven't changed the screen. I need to do that. And I got the pencil, which is, it's expensive. But I panicked and was like, I'm going to go into my overdraft. I don't care. Just do it. And I've got Procreate, the app, on there. And then I think it's about 10 quid. And then just started, opened up like a square, which I knew was like the Instagram ratio. And then I did my first, it was sort of like I did some text and like tried out. The first was to find a brush that was right for me. It's like finding a wand. I feel like in Harry Potter when he finds literally like a wand in the wand shop, when he's like, no, and then it's like mine's called like, I think mine's called like Technical Pen or something, and it's just because I like a Sharpie when I draw, like in real life. I can show you actually. IRL drawing, I use like Sharpie.
Oh, it looks incredible from here. Oh
yeah, and so I draw that, and then I like the fat line. It like keeps it really loose, and also I don't like to rub anything out. Like, so with the Sharpie, I don't
back from a Sharpie.
I like that kind of street graffiti vibe, like. So I kind of, but with the iPad drawings, I do use an eraser.
Oh, spoiler!
I know. I know. I clean it up a bit. I think it's using colours. The colours, because of doing the Sharpie, I tend to be quite impatient, so I was just using black line on that white papers you saw, because I'm in my garden and stuff. Because I get certain symptoms, like my heart feels like it goes boom, boom, boom. Different to anxiety, it's like after I eat, I get this, like, it feels like I'm about to have a heart attack. Oh
gosh,
recently. But the iPad, it's like such a distraction that I'm like looking at the colours. So I don't know, I like to draw while I've got music pumping, because I've got tinnitus from this illness.
Oh, same as me, yeah.
Oh, do you?
Yeah,
is it
I have like multiple different sounds. It's crazy.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. How long have you had tinnitus for?
Oh, as long as I can remember. I've got hearing loss as well, so I think it's my mum also has tinnitus, so I think it's kind of just brought its way down through the family tree. But yeah, so I know the feeling.
Solidarity with you and a fellow tinnitus. I've had tinnitus before in my life when I had an ear infection, and then it went away, thankfully. But then with this illness, it was just like boom, and just like, wow, it's so loud. So anyway, I that's why I like being on the phone, like having music on, and then like the screens, it's very Black Mirror, just keep me like, they keep me going, really, especially being like isolated and stuff. But yeah, in terms of thinking about the content, like it's loosely chronological, the diary. I began with just some things that were going on, like just things that were like big memories. But then I decided, since I was going to continue with the diary, that I would start from the beginning, which is, I'd say, the text. But I think memory is a fascinating, how the mind works is interesting. I don't believe in time being I'm so pretentious. I don't believe that time is a linear thing. Like, and I don't believe in memory. I feel like we remember things not in a chronological order, if that makes sense. So it's not a strictly A, B, C, D, E, F thing. It's more like,
yeah, I get you. I guess, yeah. I mean, even when you're
what
thinking
follows the
that,
next image.
you're already not being chronological because you're going backwards rather than forwards. So
Yeah.
I see you. Yeah, I see you. Yeah.
Yeah, like, thank you. Like, yeah, and I think my favorite films always have these, like, memory, like, portray memory how it is. Like, I always think, like, emotions are like sort of post-its for the brain, like trying to just, like, help kind of really highlight don't forget that. So, like, so I think with the imagery I try and, like, switch up between what makes sense following each image, but also not having, like, if I have a big image of my face crying, I won't have, like, an image of face next. Or if it's intense, then I'll, like, bring it back from the boil a bit, and then, because I like having the humor, it's kind of like, for me as well, so it's like, if I'm watching a film, I don't want it sad all the time. Like, during this, it's like, I don't want it sad all the time. I was going to get bummed out. Like, kind of I find bits of it funny. I don't know if any of it is funny, but, like,
yeah, I see the humor in it. Again, like I was saying, even your style as well has that kind of fun feeling to it as well. So it's like light-hearted but extremely serious as well, what you're saying. But I love that. I love that it has these two very huge contrasts, but they both work so well.
thank you. That's really cool. Like, I'm a big kid, basically. I'm a massive child. Like, so in order for it to, that, I always come across weird. Like, when I get stressed, I go very formal, and that freaks a lot of people out, because they can tell it's not authentic. So I wanted to make sure with this that it's like, I just have to, I know I'm a big child, but I have to I just know that as soon as I'm not being me, people are just gonna be like, what? Because I wanted to create an account that was more like of a third, and I still want to create an account which is like a third party, sort of less about me as an individual. But to be honest, mentally I just couldn't do that. Like, to begin with, the expression, I had to kind of do something more anecdotal to begin with this. So I still want to do this project, which is to partner up and amplify key worker voices with artists. So I've got a few people signed up for it. So,
oh, amazing. That's so great to hear.
Yeah.
Are they also going through the same kind of situation as you, where they're having the after effects of COVID? Or okay.
No, sorry. It's so it would just be illustrators.
Okay, cool.
And I just want, to me, it's like, we need to listen to key workers. It's like something that I saw. I'm not against, by the way, like, arts fund, COVID fund for save our music venues, save our artists. Obviously, I'm not trying to, like, hate on people, but I was on my Instagram, which is quite arty, surprise, surprise, looking at all these things, and I'm like, well, hang on, where's the fund for people? Where's the fund for medics? Like, where's the fund for, like, do people not know? Like, I think it's genuine. People just don't realize, like, how we need to keep the momentum, in the same way that the movement with Black Lives Matter. There's, like, no one can contest that it was like every day there was stuff going on, and it's like, we need to continue with the frontline workers. We need to be like, okay, well, how are our carers doing? How are our nurses doing? How are doctors doing? What do they need? Like, are they being listened to? What are their voices? So that's what the next project I want to be running with. It's just very difficult, like, getting things, like, if I had more my normal energy, I'd already have done it, but it's like, kind of just trying to get this diary thing like to a point where I feel like I've told enough of my story for, if I can't do it anymore, that people can look at it as a resource and be like, okay, because I'm talking for ages, I'm so sorry. Like, some key resources are like the COVID app, which is like for collecting medical research, and also just some self-care stuff like trying out art, going on the NHL's like website for self-isolation, like just trying to, you know, educate people about symptoms and stuff.
So are you collaborating with the NHS in this project that you're doing, or is it kind of more on the side but alongside the NHS? I got you.
Yeah, I should probably make that clear. Like, I am only myself. I don't represent anyone else. Like, I only represent me. Like, I'm just like an ally, I guess that's a misappropriation of that word, to the NHS. Like, I'm just a fangirl for the NHS, you could say.
Well, I'm sure they would appreciate you and everything that you're doing, because yeah, exactly. I totally agree. Like, there needs to be so much more done to help the NHS, and it's just a shame that our government are a bit to it. So
yeah, like, we just need to like keep the conversation going and keep making suggestions, listen to people, then hopefully that'll be paid attention to. You know, I'm an optimist.
yeah, it's absolutely, I agree. I'm, well, with you do you, happy to help. So it's so great to be able to lift you up and like show your work to other people as well. So yeah.
Thank you. Like, as someone who is like trying to get my story told, and also just the general virus thing, I really appreciate you like just agreeing to speak to me as swiftly as you have done. It's great.
Oh no, it's my pleasure. Really, it's my pleasure.
And yeah, just really like big up to everybody who is like struggling right now, who's ill, and particularly those that are working on the front line, whether it be in a supermarket or like in a ward. Nothing but respect. Like, I'm always up for collaboration, so hopefully there'll be more things like that.
Yeah, big up, big up. We lift you up. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, Monique, and hearing your story. And thank you for just doing what you're doing. Like, I feel like I've said this a billion times, but truly, like, what you're doing and still having strength despite all of what's going on is totally amazing. So a massive well done. And yeah, 100% we support you and hope we can continue to help push things and get you to where you need to be, to helping even more people hear your story and the other people that are also going through this. So yeah.
Thank you. And I forgot one last thing. It's so stupid. There's a petition which is for better PPE, for particularly for medics, on the Instagram page. So that's what I'm trying to get at the moment. But if there's any other petitions going along, or if there's any other way or suggestions of how I can use the page to help people, then I'm always open to it. So
brilliant. Yeah, I will make sure I put all of that information in the video as well. So
perfect.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you again.